Okay, we are live, and Anthony Molinaro closed on another property. You're in your 20s and you're closing on your third property.
Number 3, yeah.
Yeah, good for you, man. Talk right into the mic. Pull into the mic.
So first property was a rent-own. Second property is a future duplex conversion. We didn't have the money to convert it right away, so it's a future project. It's got the separate side entrance going down to the basement. Classic kind of St. Catharines bungalow. This third one is a student rental in Thorold. So I've got the rent-own, the future duplex, straight rental, and now the student rental. So
good. You're covering all the bases. You're learning everything at once. That's student rentals for Brock, I guess.
For Brock students, yeah.
And the duplex, future duplex, just straight rental now, but future duplex.
Future, yeah. Maybe we keep it as a straight rental. Maybe we duplex it. We'll just kind of see where our tenants at with things, where our money's at with things.
As a straight rental, does it cover the expenses, or do you need to duplex it to increase that cash flow on that property?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not covering expenses just on that property.
Well, we took a private loan to get the full down payment. So it's a pretty high interest rate on that private loan. So I think we're negative like $200, I think a month. No, $200. No, we're negative about $400, but between me and my two buddies. So between three of us. So it's about $150 between the three of us each month. But now with the student rental we just got, we're cash flowing about $1,000, and we're cash flowing on our first house, which we refinanced to get this third house. And because of interest rates where they're at right now, interest rates lowered. So we're now cash flowing on our first house when we were about break even before.
Okay. So
now our overall portfolio cash flows covers the second property, but we got that property basically not free, because we did have to put some money in for some rentals and stuff, but for a very cheap price, like 10 grand of our own money after all our own expenses, and the rest we basically financed, because we financed the down payment,
Okay. You're playing with fire with the private money. Good for you. You know what you're doing.
Well, between the three of us, we're all working, we're all living at home. Like we can afford the leverage, right? Yeah. And it's worked out for us. And it's I guess anytime you buy a house that doesn't cash flow, it's almost like an educated speculation. But it's an educated speculation. I'm working here. I understand.
Yeah, and I think at different stages of life, you're in your 20s, your expenses for your overall life are still low. Yeah. So you're willing to add that leverage on. Maybe if you're in your 40s with 2 kids and a family mortgage on a home, you wouldn't be putting yourself into that situation. But I
totally.
Get it.
But we can afford to take the risk.
Cool. Excited for you, man.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so we were going to talk about quitting your job, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, a bunch of Rockstar members always come in. They're excited about investing in real estate. Many are corporate 9-to-5ers, a bunch of blue collar workers too. But basically the general consensus of a lot of people when they want to invest in real estate is they want more options and financial freedom in their lives to be able to do what they want in the future, to live life on their terms, right? So a lot of people want to go it alone. They want to quit their job. They want to either invest in real estate full time, or they want to start a business around real estate, or just a separate side business, whatever. They just want to go it alone, and they're sick of maybe the corporate grind or the grind that they're in. So you and Nick are no different from any of these people. Just regular guys from Mississauga, like middle-class guys who grew up. You guys were in the corporate world, and now you have managed to quit your job and build a successful business, and also invest in real estate and quote unquote go it alone and build something pretty cool. So a lot of members look up to you guys to see how you guys did it. So I wanted to kind of ask you how you could break down a step-by-step plan for how you guys were able to accomplish what you guys did.
And it's just funny timing. It seems like we're getting this question. I guess it's just random, but I personally am getting this question a lot just in the last couple of weeks. So it's kind of been on my mind, and I think that's why we started talking about it as well. But I think the biggest thing that you need to hit is, I feel the older you get, the more frustrated you need to be in order to go it alone and quit your job. Because when you're in your 20s, to quit your job and try something new is a little easier than when you're in your late 30s or early 40s, if you have a family and a mortgage, to quit your job and go it alone. Yeah. So I feel like as life moves on, the frustration level that you need to hit personally to be able to have the courage to quit your job increases. So it kind of gets harder and harder and harder to quit your job and go it alone. And I can see with my friends now being 49, over the years, people in their late 20s would change careers. In their early 30s, they would change careers, and then they start to get locked in. And as they get into their late 30s and their 40s, they feel like they can't change careers. And then if they lose their job or they get cut off, the company is trying to downsize or save expenses, then it's their late 40s and they're trying to reinvent themselves then. But I feel like there's this period from like mid 30s to beyond where people lock themselves into a career. So if you're thinking about doing this, just know that depending on what age you're at, your motivation to do this may need to be really great. Because if you're in your early 40s with a family, I've seen people do it, but it just takes a lot more than if you're in your early 30s, right? So the first step is you have to get pissed off and frustrated. I guess that's
you need a reason to want to do it. Like, if you're happy with where you're at, why would you want to quit and go it alone? You might be very happy with what you're doing in life.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that because, I wasn't happy, but I don't think not being happy in the moment was enough for me to quit my job. But from the software world, I think it was extrapolating my life out 20 years that freaked me out more. Because when I decided I wanted to quit, I was about 29 or 30. I didn't ultimately quit until I think it was 32, 33. But it was extrapolating my life out 20 years and then seeing what that life looked like. And it freaked me out so much that was what I needed to see in order to get so pissed off that I quit my job.
But when you were 29, did you hate what you were doing? Did you enjoy some of it?
I enjoyed.
What was your frustration level then in the present moment? Forget about extrapolating out the 20 years.
Yeah, I think it was just lack of control. I think there's some neuroscientists that we've kind of had the opportunity to listen to over the years, different conferences, and read some of their books. And I think they talk about stress is different for everyone, and they listed out like 5 or 6 criteria. And one of them is autonomy. Like if you don't have control over your life or you don't have personal control over your life, that is very frustrating for a lot of people. For other people, it's change. Change freaks them out. And,
that's my dad. My dad hates change.
Yeah. So and I wish I had it right here, but there's like 5 or 6 primary things. Maybe we can talk about it one day. Yeah. And those are the items that kind of contribute to people's stress the most. And for me, I didn't feel like I had control of my life in the corporate job I had. I felt like if I had taken vacation for too many days, the accounts that I had would be like taken away from me. And even though I was really committed to the job that I was in, I felt like I had no control. And so that lack of control or that lack of feeling of control, even though I was getting paid really well and it was a growing company in the software industry, that was enough to freak me out. Yeah. So in the moment, I really, the job was great. The environment was great. The people were great. But it was just this overall feeling that I didn't have control, that like at a moment's notice, somebody above me in the corporate world could just yank away whatever I was doing and change it.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's not the way I wanted to live. Yeah. So I don't know if that's fully answering your question in the moment. But
was Nick the same way? For him, it was control?
I think so. I think we're both, strangely like that. I think it was control.
Yeah. Well, you're brothers, so
yeah. We're kind of built like that.
It's not that strange.
Yeah. And then I guess so the books that I was reading were kind of mapping ways to quit your job, and a lot of the books that I was reading were talking about business plans. Create a business plan. And I always looked at these business plans as if they were bullshit. I just looked at the business plan.
Why?
Because it would always just talk about like what industry are you going into and what is the percentage of the market share of that industry that you can potentially get, and how would you go about getting that? And it was just general. So it was like, if you're going to go into the mobile phone industry, how big is that industry? How much of the market share do you think you can get? And, go for it and map out like your team and map out like your branding and your mission statement. And I just thought, this isn't the way business is done. I was in a sales environment in a software company that was going public for $1 billion, and all they cared about were getting customers. There was no like percentage of the market share.
How would you know that? How could you predetermine that ahead of time? What percentage of the market share you're going to get?
I think people do it all the time. Like if you watch Dragon's Den, you'll hear people say like, oh, if we just get 3% of this $1 billion market, we'll be this size of company.
But how are you going to get that 3%?
Exactly. Yeah, that was like the missing thing in the business plans. It was like the environments that I saw were growing cared less about the percentage of the overall market share and cared more about how to get the individual customer one at a time. It was
all about the how to get the customer. It was
all about the how
to make a sale.
Yeah. So then when I kind of learned that was important, the way for me to quit my job that I believed would be to increase my skill set around sales and marketing. So like we already knew, I already had some real estate experience in my 20s. Like you, I was buying properties and flipping properties and doing that kind of stuff. So I was picking up real estate experience, but I lacked sales experience and I lacked good marketing experience. So I changed my role in the corporate world to get the sales experience, knowing that one day if I did quit my job, that sales experience was going to be pretty valuable to me, and the marketing experience. So like those two things I needed. And that was kind of important through those years of like just developing those skills, learning everything I could about sales and marketing. It's why here we do that weekly marketing meeting. We go through all the numbers like you see, like that's to me the most important thing. Mm-hmm. So before I quit, I knew it was skill development. And then I tried to find out what industry that I was going to go into. And I got frustrated because every industry seemed awesome. Like I could go into sports nutrition. I could go into just sales training. I could go into real estate. I could go in, it just seemed like the world was.
I feel like you have a lot of different interests, just in general. So I feel like for your personality type, you see all these different things, and you're like, that would be cool. That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, and it became a problem.
Yeah.
Because I didn't choose.
Shiny object syndrome. You can't focus on one thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was something, I think I heard Dan Kennedy, one of our mentors, he writes a bunch of books, and we've kind of been in some of his mastermind coaching groups. Somewhere he said, why don't you look where the stream of revenue and sales are already happening, and then just step into that. Instead of trying to come up with a brand new idea for a business, just step into a field or a niche or an industry where a lot of business is already happening. And you'll likely, if you're half decent at what you're doing, get a piece of that revenue. And that I thought was kind of really comforting because up until that point, I was trying to come up with a new business idea. Like I was trying to think of new ways to do business in different industries. So for example, if it was real estate, could I come up with a brokerage model or a sales model that nobody else was doing? And you'd have to explain it. Maybe it was like auctioning properties and nobody was doing back then, or doing something completely different. And he just kind of brought it back to just find out where people are spending money anyway. And if you're good at what you do and you're a good person, have integrity, you're likely going to get some of that business. So that really helped me decide that, okay, you know what, we'll go into real estate. Because even though real estate didn't feel like the most exciting thing for me at the time, I already had the skills in real estate. We kind of grew up in real estate, and then Nick and I had done real estate ourselves. And there were already deals happening in real estate with or without Nick and I. So we're like, okay, you know what? Not the most exciting thing. It's not really thrilling to us to go into the real estate world, but we'll put our stake in the ground. And this was really important. This was an important moment for quitting your job. We'll put our stake in the ground and decide that's the industry that we're going into. That's the one we're going to focus on. And that really gave me a lot of clarity and got me one step closer to quitting announcing to my boss that I was going to quit my job. So that was an important step. And then after deciding that we were going to go into that industry, it was what would be our niche. So for us, it was working with investors in real estate, as opposed to going into an industry like everybody else in real estate saying, we do everything. We do pre-construction condos. We work with people who want to resell their home. We help people buy vacation properties. We work with investors. And that's typically, how it was in real estate in the kind of 2000s. We thought, no, we're not going to work with anyone unless they're a real estate investor. And it has to be a specific type of real estate investor. They want to buy single family homes and no condos.
So if someone came to you guys and said, hey, can you help me buy a personal family home? You guys would not have sold them that home.
Yeah, we said no. We would have investors. When we started, we were just doing single family investment properties. So if we had people come to us and say, we want to do a student rental, even though we owned student rentals ourselves at the time, we said, no, sorry, can't help you.
Because you felt that would have been a distraction, or that would have distilled down what you guys were all about with trying to build your niche?
It was going to be a distraction to the amount of momentum you need to create to start a new business.
Okay.
Because we knew that to start a new business, you need momentum. Business is all about creating momentum. Every business that we've ever studied, or now different entrepreneurs that we're in the know of, it's all about creating momentum. It's all about creating momentum and keeping momentum. And you can't create momentum in a business if you're so vague in what you do that you're trying to do everything. It's hard to create momentum in multiple areas. So we just laser focused on single family homes, and we didn't even go into Toronto. We went into the communities around Toronto. So it became single family homes in communities around Toronto. And if you want to flip a home, sorry, we can't help you, even though we had both flipped homes. If you want a student rental, sorry, we can't help you, even though we had both done student rentals. Mm-hmm. It was just single family homes, and that's it. And once we decided that that was going to be the focus, it gave us a lot of clarity on how we would get customers. Because we knew what to say. We knew we could laser focus about talking about single family homes, looking at the numbers, the cash flow, the income and the expenses on single family homes. And everything we spoke about could be about that and that alone. And then that attracts people to you. Because if people know that that's all you do, that you're like the guys that are
You're
doing
the single family home guy.
Yeah, that
you need a single family home rental, you go to Tom and Nick.
Yeah, you go to Tom and Nick, and it became single family home rentals. Or no, back then it was a lot of rent to own when we first started. But the idea was that it was going to be single family homes. So it was like picking an industry, picking a niche. We'll work with investors. And then within that niche, can we narrow it down even more to what type of investors? And it was going to be single family home investors. And once we decided that,
it was even probably a certain type of person too, like a customer avatar.
Yeah, we had always read that, but we never got to that point. We never got to, it was more just like...
You did get to that point eventually.
Eventually we did.
Eventually, okay.
Yeah, but at first it was just like, we'll go into real estate, we'll work with investors.
One step at a time.
And then single family homes. And then once we understood that, we could create sales and marketing messaging that would attract people who wanted single family home rental properties. So what we did is we looked at these single family homes around Hamilton and Burlington at the time, on the west side of Toronto, Barrie, Brampton. Yeah. And we thought, okay, these properties at the time were creating cash flow, either as straight rentals or using a rent to own strategy. And we thought the people that we are going to work with are looking to create cash flow in their lives. So this is maybe a bit about the customer avatar. So our messaging shouldn't be about Nick and myself. It should be, hey, do you want to buy properties to create new streams of cash flow in your life? And that was the advertising that we threw out. And when we tested that advertising, we got people to respond and reach out to us. And as soon as we cracked that nut, we quit our jobs. As soon as we understood that we could put something in a new, and back then it was...
And you could repeat that.
And we could repeat it.
So once you built that confidence through repetition, you're like, okay, we have a system.
Yeah, we ran these ads in sometimes little classified ads. So I guess it would be the equivalent to Kijiji right now. But we ran little ads in the Oakville paper. I don't even know what it's called, the local Oakville paper. I think it was the Burlington Post. Oakville.
No.
I forget. I don't even know if they have it. No, it comes on my driveway still. I think we do still get it. But anyway, the local papers like the Mississauga News, the Brampton
Guardian.
We would
deliver those.
Oh yeah, did you? Yeah, so you probably carried our ads. So we had little classified ads, and the little classified ad, all it would say was, "Do you want to learn how to create cash flow in real estate without touching a hammer?" Trying to imply like you're not going to do a renovation.
Yeah.
And then it was like, reach out to
You're answering the objection about investing in real estate, that it's difficult. You need to be a handyman. You got to do these big renos all in one line.
Exactly. And then we had a 1-800 number. We didn't even have a website, even though back then we knew how to create websites, but we're like, we don't have the time. And as soon as we discovered that people will call that 1-800 number looking for information, that was when we quit our job. Because that's when I felt like, even though I had 2 kids, Carol was at home with the kids, not working at the time, because we had decided that it was beneficial for our family for her to be at home with the children. Yeah. We still had a mortgage on our home. That knowing how to get a customer gave me the confidence to quit my job. Because I'm like, if we can get the phone to ring, forget about market share, how much market share of the real estate industry we're going to get. Like, forget that, will come later.
So how much market share did you guys get?
I don't know. We still haven't calculated it. We still.
But we just went, you guys, from building this company to now all of us working together, we've done over $2 billion.
Yeah. And it's growing, because when we first started, like the first couple of years was probably, worth of real estate that we had helped investors buy was probably like 2 or 3 million, right? Then it was became 4 or 5, and then like 10. And now Rockstar's doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So that number is growing faster right now. So we'll get to 3 billion faster than we went from 1 to 2 billion.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of growing faster. So but we still have never calculated the market share and done the typical business plan. And all our focus just became, how good can we get at streamlining that process, running ads, to getting people to reach out to us, to getting them to work with us, and then getting them to do repeat business with us. And that was our extreme focus. And that's when all the marketing books, we could just laser in on marketing books, and a lot of the theoretical marketing books that I had read over the years, they became useless, because they just talked about like putting the right people in the right spots. Like I remember reading some books saying like, you have to hire good people and put them in the right roles. And like, that was for multinational corporations. That wasn't for like a startup. All we were looking for were, how do good ads work? What do people respond to? How can we respond when people respond to us so that they'll do business with us? And that became our sole focus. Every week for years, that's all we focused on. How are our ads running? How many people are reaching out to us? How are we converting? And that allowed us to go from literally 0 people in our database and zero business to what we're discussing now, like, a decent sized business, right?
In business school, I went to 4 years of undergraduate business school. You don't learn any of this. It's to your point about it's like the multinational. You're learning how to work in a corporation. You're not learning this type of stuff, how to get a customer, what to focus on when you're first starting out. And to most people, their dreams to start their own little business, go it alone, live life on their own terms. It's not to work in a corporation, but we're all just bred.
Yeah.
Just cogs in a machine, bred in this business
We'll teach
school.
you about accounting, and, we'll teach you about marketing. And the marketing is like more supply, demand, like high level stuff where it's like, listen, I just want the phone to ring or the email to go off or a text message to go off.
It's so simple when you break it down like that. You just need to get the phone to ring.
That's it.
You need a customer.
That's the whole idea. So if you're thinking, if you're listening to this thinking you're going to quit your job, how are you going to get the phone to ring? That's it. You crack that nut, you're done. Quit. Because you're going to get customers for your new business. And I'll share one more thing with you. This is another Dan Kennedy thing that I really have to credit him with, was that he taught us to think about the lifetime value of a customer. So when I was first, when I was in my 20s, I remember thinking I would just want to quit my job and sell PDFs. There was this idea that you could sell ebooks on the internet in the early 2000s. This was like 20 years ago, that you could just put up a website and sell an ebook on like how to get fit in your sleep or, some crazy topic. And you would sell that ebook for $9 and you could get enough customers on your website to buy that ebook and you could retire. Like that was like the thinking back then. But then I remember doing the math thinking, you got to sell a lot of $9 ebooks to like make a life.
Yeah.
So he got us thinking, what is the lifetime value of the customer in the business that you're going in? So if you're going to go into a business and you're going to sell, this cup that's in front of you, this shaker bottle, how much profit or how much gross revenue do you make off every sale? And how many of those are you going to have to make in a year for this to be meaningful to you?
Yeah. How many shaker bottles am I going to buy?
Yeah.
Over a lifetime.
How many are you going to, how many are your typical customer going to buy? Exactly. So that I can figure out what is the lifetime value of an Anthony Molinaro to my business. Yeah. Is this guy going to just buy one shaker bottle and be done, or is he going to buy 3? But if you sell something else that's a higher price, maybe Anthony Molinaro becomes a lot more valuable to you, because if Anthony Molinaro buys one, Lexus automobile, maybe the commission off that or the revenue stream off that is so much higher that you can make less sales, but the lifetime value of the customer, because Anthony's going to come back and renew, buy another car from me every few years, is much higher than selling shaker bottles.
Yeah.
So he put that into our brain that like the lifetime value of a customer, have you given thought to that? And what is that number? Because if it's high enough, it makes your life a lot easier in business. Like in real estate, one of the beautiful things about real estate are that the commissions, rightly or wrongly, are high enough that the lifetime value of customers is really strong. Because if somebody buys multiple properties with you, the commission that you're earning is quite high. So that kind of made for another good reason to go in the real estate industry, because just the commissions were large enough.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening to this, I think it's all great advice. They're going to hear this and think, okay, well, what industry can I get into? So just real quickly, from your observations, what industries do you think would be good to step into right now where the transactions are already happening?
It would be, any industry is fine. Just go to the high end of that industry. So like you can go into anything. You could sell shaker bottles. You can sell supplements. You can sell a service. You can become a dentist and yourself and, start your own dental practice instead of working for someone else. You can be your own chiropractor instead of working for someone else's office. It's just that to us, you want to focus on the higher end customer, because the lifetime value of those customers is worth more to you. Mm-hmm. So it's not a question really of what industry that you want to go into. There's opportunity everywhere. To us, it would be just focus on the segment of the market that is at the higher end of the market. They have the most disposable income, and the lifetime value of those customers is ultimately going to be higher to you over a longer term. As opposed to what a lot of people do in business is what they try to do is, I don't have a compelling story. I don't have a compelling message. I'm going to get into business. I'm going to cut my prices just to win customers. And then you're forever on a treadmill of just trying to make enough money to survive.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom.
It's just a race. And then your competitor, if they cut prices, then you have to cut again because you have no compelling messaging.
Yeah.
Whereas if you force yourself to focus on the higher end of the market, you're forced to also come up with messaging for your business on how to get those customers. And then you differentiate yourself from just a commodity at the bottom, focusing on who has the lowest price, to what is my messaging and how do I attract the best customers? And it's very freeing. right? So we're covering a lot, we're trying to cover a lot here in a short period of time, but that's the general idea. So if I was to summarize, to quit your job, you have to get pissed off. You have to be pretty frustrated. Yeah. And then you have to pick an industry, pick a niche in that industry, and then figure out, and this to us was the key, how you're going to get the phone to ring. As soon as you crack that nut, how you're going to get a customer, and you can get that customer on a repeated, consistent basis, you can quit your job because you're free. You can get customers. And if you can get customers, you're always going to do business. That's everything. That's the focus. So I don't know if that's clear enough or that helps or.
Yeah, that's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah. It's totally freeing. It's totally freeing. Thanks for this, man. You always do a good job at this. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.